On the other side of town, Hinagi lay in bed, staring at her phone with a heavy heart. She mumbled to herself, thinking there was no way to fix what she had with MC. Their families used to go to festivals together, but over time, it became just the two of them. She remembered one night in particular, MC had reached out to hold her hand, but she instinctively pulled away, embarrassed by how sweaty her palms were. She'd tried to discreetly wipe them dry, hoping he hadn't noticed, but he never tried again. Now she couldn't help but wonder, what if she had just let him hold her hand that day? Would things have gone differently? Would they still be close, maybe even comfortable enough to hold hands without thinking twice? Maybe they could have even kissed, walked home together, become something more. But now? Now all she had were the what-ifs. And it's not like she could just go ask him why he drifted, she knew deep down that it was her who ruined what they had. Meanwhile, MC had finally tracked down the bear keychain, though night had already fallen. He had almost given up looking for it. Sweaty and covered in dirt, he gave himself a tiny pat on the back for finding it, even if he'd nearly lost hope. Holding it in his hands, he wondered if Hinagi would even care. He had already tossed out everything she had ever given him, objects, memories, all of it. Still, he brushed the thought aside and decided to head home. But before he could take a step, he slipped. Hard. Tumbled straight down the hill like a bad slapstick scene. As he fell, MC genuinely thought, well, this is it. In his head, he started saying goodbye to his mom, his sister, Hinagi Kamashiro, even Miho. What a dramatic guy. He realized he'd only ever been close to a handful of people, but somehow, that felt like enough. And with that thought, MC let out a helpless scream as he crashed. Flashback to the festival, Hinagi had pulled MC along to get some plum candy. He knew she preferred apple candy, but she said she didn't want to open her mouth too wide. So, they settled for plum. The two of them just enjoyed the moment, like carefree kids. Later, Hinagi made him play the shooting game to win her a bear keychain. MC thought it was pretty ugly, but he went for it anyway, because she looked happy. By middle school, Hinagi had become more of a handful, yet MC still hoped they'd go to the festival together the next summer. Seeing her smile while hugging that ugly bear, he truly believed their bond was only getting stronger. Just as Hinagi was about to say something important, fireworks exploded overhead, drowning out her voice. She had started talking about next year's plans when some rowdy boys bumped into her mid-sentence. MC quickly grabbed her hand to keep her from falling, but she swatted it away immediately. Hinagi quickly wiped her sweaty palms again, but the damage was already done. For MC, that rejection hit hard. That one reflex. The slap away felt like a loud no. He couldn't shake the feeling that everything between them changed in that moment. The next morning, MC woke up in bed, body aching from a cold. At some point, he must have made it home and collapsed in the rain. Glancing at the clock, he realized he'd been out for over half a day. He vaguely remembered a dream, nostalgic, though he couldn't say if it was happy or sad. All that remained was an unmistakable feeling of loss. MC glanced at the bear sitting next to his clock. He knew he had to return it to Hinagi at school. Meanwhile, Yuri walked up to Miho and asked to speak with him in private. Caught off guard, Miho followed her out of the classroom without a word. Watching them leave, Hinagi couldn't help but wonder, was Yuri actually about to confess to Miho? But knowing Yuri, that seemed unlikely. Everything she did was always for MC's sake. If anything, it just confirmed Hinagi's suspicion that MC really had gone home early because he was sick. Still, curiosity got the better of her. A part of her was worried about MC, so she quietly followed them and listened in on their conversation. In the hallway, Miho asked what was wrong. Yuri, in her usual blunt way, demanded an answer about the day before. Then, without warning, she snapped, asking why MC had come home soaked from the rain. Hearing this, Hinagi froze. He'd left before everyone else, hadn't he? Did that mean he'd gone back to search for the bear? Before she could process it all, she rushed after Yuri, calling out to ask if MC was okay. Without even slowing down, Yuri coldly replied that it was just a mild cold, and his fever had already gone down. Hinagi sighed in relief, but before she could say another word, Yuri cut her off with a sharp warning, "Don't test my patience." Turning to face her, Yuri's glare turned icy. Her tone dropped, and with clear irritation, she asked Hinagi what really happened that day. Hinagi froze. Every emotion she'd been bottling up hit her all at once. Her body trembled, and she finally broke down, admitting everything was her fault. She had said something she deeply regretted. Yuri smirked. "So, you tricked my brother again?" Her voice had a threatening edge. "Don't do it again." Hinagi wanted to explain, to clear up the misunderstanding, but it didn't matter. She had to apologize first. Before she could speak, Yuri turned and walked off, claiming she didn't have time to waste. Hinagi pleaded with her to wait, but Yuri flashed a death glare that said, "Don't even try it." Hinagi stopped in her tracks, left with no choice but to cry as Yuri disappeared down the hallway. Back at home, MC was already starting to feel better. He stretched a little and realized how bored and hungry he was. Just as he was about to get up and find food, he heard voices near the door. A moment later, Yuri stormed into his room, looking pissed off. "You feeling better?" she asked. MC nodded. "Yeah." "Someone was at the door," she added. "Who?" he asked. "The newspaper guy." MC paused. "No way." He immediately knew she was lying and called her out. That was a mistake. Yuri narrowed her eyes. "Wanna repeat that?" MC instantly folded. "I said nothing. Nothing at all." He mimed raising a white flag. Classic defeat. Talking back to his sister was a violation of the family's unwritten survival code. Yuri didn't say anything else, just handed him a plastic bag filled with recovery supplies. Everything inside was peach-flavored. MC blinked. "Seriously?" She asked if he needed anything else, pointing out that he already looked a lot better than earlier. MC declined, but Yuri insisted, offering to wipe him down and make porridge. MC laughed, teasing her. "Do you even know how to cook?"
It was at this moment that he knew. He fucked up.
Yuri glared, daring him to say it again. Without missing a beat, MC flopped to the floor in total regret. Yep. He'd definitely gone too far. Not trusting his stomach with Yuri's cooking, MC decided to make the porridge himself. Ironic, really, he was the one sick, but Yuri still asked him to make a portion for her too, like it was the most normal thing in the world. Just then, his eyes drifted to his phone. He hadn't checked it in a while, and the moment he did, he instantly regretted it. His screen was flooded with messages from Hinagi. A wave of anxiety hit him hard. Sighing, MC threw on a jacket and stepped out, saying he was heading to the convenience store. That's when he unexpectedly ran into Hinagi. She didn't hesitate, ran straight up to him and pulled him into a tight hug. Completely panicked, MC immediately tried to push her away, mumbling that he probably smelled like sweat. But Hinagi wouldn't let go. Tears welled in her eyes as she confessed how worried she'd been. She had feared something bad had happened to him. Caught off guard, MC awkwardly asked if she'd come to his house earlier. When she said yes, it all clicked. Yuri hadn't been arguing with the newspaper guy, she'd been talking to Hinagi. Realizing that, MC quickly apologized for his sister's behavior. But Hinagi just laughed it off, joking that Yuri would be furious if she heard him say that. MC was surprised by how chill she was. He thought she'd still be angry about everything, but she stayed calm, almost too calm. Without saying anything, MC pulled out the ugly bear keychain and handed it to her. Hinagi took it without hesitation. She already knew he had gone back for it. Trying to play it cool, MC shrugged and said he wasn't in any clubs, so he had nothing better to do. Hinagi smiled, thanking him for retrieving something that meant so much to her. As they walked, Hinagi quietly apologized for all the trouble she'd caused. MC didn't respond directly, instead, he asked if her feet were okay. She nodded and said they were fine, then commented on how nostalgic the evening felt. They used to stay out late like this all the time, only to get scolded afterward. Out of nowhere, Hinagi declared, "I don't want to go home yet." Before that could sink in, MC randomly asked, "Do you still have that smelly feet problem?" Hinagi stopped in her tracks, stunned. How long are you going to believe that stupid rumor, she snapped. MC, looking genuinely confused, asked if she was bothered about something other than that. Hinagi flushed, insisting, it's not like that. Seeing her all flustered, MC smirked. There's the Hinagi I remember, he said. For a moment, he had actually thought she'd changed completely. That made Hinagi pause. Have I really changed that much? She asked softly. She crossed her arms around herself like she was trying to hold something in. Deep down, she knew she'd changed on the day that meant the most to her, and the one she regretted most. Trying to change the subject, she asked why MC had gone back for the bear if he'd been avoiding her this whole time. MC simply smiled and said he'd help her when she was in trouble. That was just who he was. But Hinagi pressed further. Is that just because we're childhood friends? MC's smile faded. With a serious look, he told her that if she ever needed help, she had to ask for it. Then, almost as if reminding himself more than her, he added that he couldn't stay by her side anymore. He turned to leave. But Hinagi suddenly grabbed his arm. Her voice trembled as she pleaded, please, stay with me. MC's expression darkened. He looked away. That's not my job anymore, he said quietly. Then Hinagi dropped a bombshell. I broke up with my boyfriend. And just like that, the plot deepened. Hinagi admitted the relationship had only lasted 2 weeks and apologized for not telling MC sooner. She broke down in front of him, desperately asking if they could go back to how things were. Back when they were just childhood friends. But MC didn't hesitate. He said he couldn't. The words fell heavy between them. Hinagi, unwilling to give up, asked if it was already too late, or if it was because of Kamishiro. But MC denied it outright. That wasn't the reason. Still, what he said next hit even harder. He told her he didn't feel the same about her anymore. Hinagi's breath caught in her throat. She had come prepared for a painful conversation, but hearing him say it so plainly still hurt. Even so, she stood her ground. Her voice was steady as she admitted that she had always liked him. Even as kids. She had been happy when he confessed. She had wanted to respond right away, but couldn't. There were reasons. Before she could explain further, MC gently pushed her away. He told her he didn't realize she was such a liar. She froze. He didn't believe her any of it. He asked if she really hadn't dated that boy simply because she liked MC, or if she was the kind of person who could just date someone she didn't care for. His words were sharp, and Hinagi couldn't help but squeeze the bear in her hands as she tried to defend herself. Her voice trembled as she insisted it was the truth. Back then, she had panicked. MC had always seemed untouchable, popular, composed, and capable of anything. And on top of that, he was kind. Too kind. When rumors about him and Kamishiro started to spread, more girls began gravitating toward him. Meanwhile, Hinagi felt stuck, held back by everything happening in her life. Before she realized it, things had gone out of control. But still, she remembered the promise they made when they were young. She promised to always stay by his side, and he promised to help her whenever she needed it. That memory had never left her. Maybe it hadn't left him either. After all, he had gone back for the bear. Hinagi wanted to explain more, to tell him everything. But she couldn't stop MC from walking away. She stood there, frozen in place, unable to fix the mess that had built up over time. Her eyes blurred with tears. Guilt weighed heavily on her, she blamed herself for everything. She had been too afraid to open up, too scared to let MC see the sides of her she hated the most. She thought that if he saw the selfish, insecure parts of her, he'd leave her for good. That fear had held her back until it was too late. She saw herself as someone who ruined everything, someone whose love had been twisted by jealousy, fear, and hesitation. But even so, she didn't want to give up. Lifting her head, she told herself this couldn't be the end. If she wanted to move forward, she had to take the first step. She had to mend what was broken, even if it meant starting from scratch. Even if he resented her. She would start by making him stop hating her. And only after that. Only when she had truly faced everything, would she finally say the words she had been too afraid to say, "I'm sorry."